Hello and welcome to our midterm poll 2012. Well, there won't or there may be a confidence vote in Parliament next week. That's the buzz today. But the question is, does anyone really want an election right now? Or is everyone terrified of the midterm poll? Well, over the next few days, we're going to answer that question. Who will win and who will lose out if an election were held now? And we can watch how they really behave in the trust vote in Parliament. We've carried out one of the largest midterm opinion polls ever, nearly 30,000 voters across 125 constituencies, both urban and rural India, 60% rural actually. The fieldwork was done by a leading market research organization called Ipsos. And every evening we shall divide the show into 4 parts. We start with a big national question. Then we'll discuss the forecast, the seats that each party will get in key states. The third section is on some major social issue like arranged marriages or dowry or even which state of India has the nicest people. And finally, we will look at the softer side of India. That's our unfinally. Today, for example, we report on who India thinks is the greatest actor of all time. But first, let me introduce a group of amazing minds who will interpret the midterm poll results. We've got the one and only Dorab, young Dorab Sapariwala, and all the errors are due to him. We've got Zoya Hassan, Shopun Das Gupta, Sudhendra Kulkarni, and joining us in a moment will be Shekhar Das Gupta. So the first question we're going to, the first question we're going to ask today is the following. Is corruption a major national election issue? Is corruption an election issue? Is it our most important problem? Now, any election issue has to fulfill 2 criteria. First, it has to be an important issue for the people of India. So we asked, what are the main issues that trouble you today? And this is what people said. The single biggest issue that people across the country said that affects them is corruption. Unemployment is second, poverty third, terrorism, Naxalism fourth, and prices fifth. So corruption fulfills the first criteria in any election issue. It is important to the people of India. But the second criterion is one party better than another in solving that problem? And on that front, it's neck and neck. 54% said Congress more corrupt, 46% said BJP more corrupt, and let me tell you, that is not statistically very different. So really, it's 50-50. So in many ways, Shopun, corruption is not an election issue. While it's important to us, to every voter, they don't know who to choose to solve it. But there are a few states, just a quick look at this, where corruption is important, where one party is seen to be more corrupt. Congress is clearly more corrupt in Rajasthan, where 70% said it was more corrupt than the BJP, Orissa 60%, and Madhya Pradesh 59%. And there's one state where it is also an election issue. The BJP in Karnataka is seen to be more corrupt than the Congress, 58. But Shopun, every other state is 50-50, so it doesn't affect my vote.
Well, you see, Pranoy, normally there are issues and there are opinion poll issues. Now, you've done enough opinion polls in your lifetime that people have had hot meals. And you'll have found that price rise is a perennial issue.
Right.
It's always there.
Yes.
And unemployment.
Actually, I was very surprised to see it fifth, in fact.
So, price rise and unemployment, invariably, regardless of the economic climate, is always there on top of the polls.
Right.
So, the fact that corruption suddenly, which normally used to feature around 13-15%, has suddenly shot up to such an important,
it's the first time.
To my mind, it would suggest that politically it has become important.
Right.
Right? Now, obviously, if an issue becomes politically important, it is going to shape the political decision making also.
But if one party,
Tamil Nadu,
right,
if you had taken a poll in the last assembly election, you would probably have found that 50% say
one is more corrupt. So then it doesn't become a
therefore,
vote.
But at the end of the day, the results showed that there is a vote against the incumbent.
Right.
So normally, if I would say that if corruption has been brought to the top of the pile, I think that would suggest an inherent anti-incumbency.
Well, I think the results of 2 of the states are being discussed today, and we'll see if it shows
Yeah,
that.
yeah.
MP and Odisha are being discussed today, and I don't think it.
Well, no, I think the very interesting thing is that MP and Odisha are states where Congress has been
not
out
in
of
power.
power for a very long time.
And yet this-
it's so much more corrupt. So whoever was in power earlier has done work for 2 more generations after them. Because usually it's the incumbent that is seen to
Yes.
be more corrupt. Because somebody who's not incumbent, how can he be corrupt? And in this case, somebody hasn't been incumbent for a very long time. In fact, in Odisha, the chief minister is serving his 3rd term. So this tells
But
you that
Zoya-
that Congress party lost out. It will pay
I mean, it
for its sins that it allowed to go on unchecked.
But
in the
it
past.
did surprise me that it was more or less 50-50, both basically equally corrupt, both parties. So, Zoya, there are 2 ways to look at that. It's not going to be an election
Pranay,
issue, or
can I add something to it?
Yeah.
That's also because it's more money-making ability in the hands of the chief minister now. And the BJP just happens to have many more chief ministers than the Congress party. And if anything, its chief ministers are enormously more effective and more powerful than those of the Congress party, who are
So
basically
that's
chapatis in
effective.
Delhi.
But when you say both parties, everybody is corrupt, there's another way to look at it. Is there room now for a third or new force to come into politics, which is seen as non-corrupt? Now, whether it's Anna or somebody, is this an indication that corruption is important, an issue, but we need somebody who's going to solve it? And at the moment, there are no alternatives. Is that glimmer of hope for Anna or somebody else?
I think what is very clear from this is that corruption is certainly a very salient issue. And this is not the first time that it has acquired salience. I mean, the 1989 elections, 1990, the corruption issue, the Bofors scandal, and the Congress lost power largely because of that.
But there, sorry to interrupt, there VP Singh was seen clearly as a
Yes, now
less
the
corrupt
different, yeah,
person. So
that's
there was
the
a
interesting
vote.
point.
Yeah.
That's the interesting point.
Yeah.
But then the
Carry on,
polity
sorry.
then was very different. You did
Yes.
not have coalition politics. That was really the first time that you're going to have, or the second time that there was going to be a serious non-Congress government. But I think what I find interesting here is that, yes, corruption is certainly more important. And as you said, there is now a possibility, as everyone is predicting, that neither of these 2 forces are going to emerge as, they'll be the single largest party. But the possibilities for a third front or a third formation is important. Now, I'm not sure whether that's going to be the Anna Hazare formation, but certainly there are plenty of other third parties or third fronts which could become important. But I think it's a combination of issues. I'm not sure whether when elections are actually held, corruption alone is going to be important.
No, it won't be alone, but
Corruption-
it's I think, as Chopin is saying, it's unusual to see it top of the list and clearly on top. So
But
there
it
is
has
something
a lot
happening.
to do, if I may say so, Pranay, it has a lot to do with the political mobilization, the political
Yes.
campaign.
Yeah,
And
as
BJP
the
has
campaign goes
quite
on.
successfully spearheaded this
Yeah.
whole anti-corruption campaign.
Actually, we are joined by Veerappa Moily, the minister, sir. Sir, corruption is an important issue, and the Congress seem to be a corrupt party, and therefore you're not going to gain anything from votes. And Chopin Dasgupta says, with corruption as a major issue, it's an indication of anti-incumbency against the Congress.
So, yeah, the question is, yes, corruption is an issue. I don't say that corruption is not an issue. But whether the corruption by rhetoric or by argument or perception or corruption on a concrete parameters, this is what is required. You all know many of the governments are now headed by NDA partners or the BJP. And ultimately, they are the people who have to deliver on the spot
Right.
in the respective states.
Okay.
Ultimately, the national politics comes next. So, it has to be taken in a holistic way.
Right.
One,
Sudhindra, if I can just
not
put that point
the
you're making,
one
sir, to Sudhindra, as Mr. Moily is saying, it's all rhetoric. You guys are just talking, there's no substance, so the voter will see through your rhetoric.
No, it would be a huge mistake on the part of any political party to think that this is rhetoric and people really are not serious about corruption. If you have conducted a huge poll and corruption comes on top of all the issues, it means that people are really agitated. But I want to make a point.
But are they
here.
agitated against the BJP as well?
Yes,
Everybody.
if you.
So are you going to join Anna?
No.
Quick switch.
We are really concerned about the figure that you showed about Karnataka. Karnataka was a problem. But if you look at all the other BJP ruled states, it just shows that we have been able to not only contain corruption, but people still remember corruption of the previous Congress regimes. And taken nationally, see, on the one hand, people say that,
is the credit
corruption.
of the Congress party. They did so well in the past.
That
They've got their first
I will
innings
make
lead
one
on you.
point here. The people think that this is the most serious issue, and today the Congress says there is no corruption in the 2G issue, no corruption in the coal.
But Mr. Moily says you talk about things in the air.
You know, which
people
means
will
that
see
the
through
people
this.
are really not believing in the Prime Minister.
But are they
And
believing
this
the
is a serious
BJP? Are they
issue.
believing you?
No, you know, barring Karnataka, we really, you know, come across as a party that is far less corrupt.
Not really.
No,
50-50 across the
In
country.
the media, there is much more central corruption. So I think the public in general, though Congress may not be a ruling party in Madhya Pradesh, they see every night on television, newspapers, the image of Colgate and whatever, and that helps to reinforce the image.
And media
I
has
just-
played an important
Yeah,
part
very
in that.
important
I mean,
role.
media has played a very important
Are you saying something nice about the
You
media?
know,
Can we
because,
dwell
you know,
on that a bit?
India had never heard of figures like 1,76,070
Right.
crores,
Okay.
1,86,000
I do want to
crores.
move on now. I want to move on to a
This is what
state.
has created the perception.
Right. But don't forget, almost 50% feel BJP is equally corrupt. So there's a problem there. That's the lesson.
India's #1 news app. Just got even better. Download NDTV's new app. Fully optimized for retina display. Full screen view. Faster response time. And Sudoku. NDTV's new iPad app. Download now.